Hey, folks, it's Lindsey Hudson with SPS back in the building. That is the SPS Edge Show with a great group of people. I got Terry McCord Jr., who's been an able-bodied co-host, but I got to the team, Jon and Patrick Rutherford holding us down. And somewhere on the West Coast, there's a gentleman at a bar with a Heineken in his hand. He's probably listening to this broadcast and enjoying himself. It's Coach Orlando Watkins. Oh, we missed you, man. Yeah, he probably like, they couldn't even get started on time without me. But we're okay. We worked it out. How you guys doing?
Everything's good.
Yeah.
The one good thing about the work we do, man, there's never a slow day in the sports news. There's always something.
Got that right.
For you guys having from everything from a historical reference, a social conscious reference, and just kind of being in the know that we can stay on top of. But I want to start today with what was the talk of the town a few nights ago, and that was Kawhi, our buddy Kevin Durant's amazing performance. Look at that guy right there. He joined us right there, huh? He's smiling. He in Vegas. Hey, he got giving us the Vegas tour. What's up? Orlando, I'm gonna unmute you. Are you muted yourself? Hey man, you looking good.
Thank you, Terrence. I didn't know I would drop right then in the middle of the broadcast.
I took over your engineering duties, and I know we started late. That was my bad, but you're looking good, representing for BCAM. Now you down in Old Vegas right now, right?
We're down in Old Vegas in front of the D.
Yeah, I love it. So wait a minute, are you about to go on a little ripcord that goes down there?
We're gonna say that for tomorrow.
You looking good, man. I see you representing that BCAM too, man. They should be fortunate. Anybody shout you out with the BCAM shirt on out there yet?
One more time.
Did anybody shout you out and recognize that BCAM shirt you're wearing?
No, they didn't.
Soon enough.
All right.
Hey, you in your element, man. You good out there.
I'm good.
All right, well, we're here for you. You can always check in and send a message. Enjoy yourself all the way from Vegas.
All right, have a good show, guys.
Thank you all.
All right.
How cool is that, right?
Yeah, beautiful.
Hey, and he wasn't smiling because of the show. He's smiling because he's about to hang out and have a good time.
Right.
So with that, you're right. I was struggling saying Kevin Durant because I saw old coming online, man. But yeah, Kevin Durant in this performance. And for the record, ain't no hater in me, right? I'm a Kevin Durant fan. But the question I pose to this illustrious panel is, was Kevin Durant's performance a one-off? And I do have some information to support that I'm not a hater based on some inside information. But I only say this because it seems like his playoff nemesis when it comes to comparisons, Jon, is the whole thing with what did LeBron do? Well, LeBron's been doing that. You know, finally leading up to that game, they said, okay, now you're going to see what LeBron went through. And Kevin Durant being a player, Patrick, that's locked into social media, he was all in to what was going on. He could feel the tone, and he rose to the occasion. But I'll start with you, Terry, as far as what do you think about that? Was that a one-off performance? And I guess here's the thing. To see if this is, well, I'll say this when I'm done. The information I have, we can ask if it's true or not. But what do you think about Kevin Durant's performance the other night with was it 44-10 and like 44-18-10 or something like that? I may be getting it wrong.
No, I mean, you got to take time, man, to appreciate greatness. I mean, we're watching the prime of Kevin Durant. And I think the game, he played 48 minutes, which, we've seen LeBron do before. But that game, KD hit some tremendous shots. I mean, LeBron does his thing where he gets a lot of people involved. And, you can feel everyone kind of feel that tremendous performance that he displayed. But Kevin Durant, you just sit there. You just like, my eyes were glued to Kevin Durant. I wasn't worried about anybody else really doing anything. But I was watching Kevin Durant hitting the step backs, fadeaways, the little double crossover he does every time, and the pull up. Man, it was beautiful. I mean, no one is blocking his shot. Just beautiful game displayed by Kevin Durant. But my biggest thing is that, I don't think this is going to be the only time we see this, though. I think this is exactly what we missed in the bubble. I mean, Kevin Durant, guys like KD, Kyrie, having those big-time spectacular games, we missed that. I mean, even though Durant did join that Warriors team, he still had amazing performances. I mean, I know that same shot 2 years in a row, game 3, over King James at the Q, right there. I mean, dagger. I mean, he's a killer, elite scorer. We knew that coming in, and we just love to see his game kind of get matured, man. I mean, he's such a mature athlete. Oh, he's getting better off the court. He still has some work to do, but just a mature athlete, straight professional on the court, man. He does his thing. He scores the ball.
Yeah, it was good. John, I saw you. I'm sorry, Patrick. I saw you nodding your head when Terry made reference to that. So my question to you is, following Terry's logic, which was great, if you think that's what he's capable of, is it that he hasn't had an opportunity where he had to just beat all out Kevin Durant, or was that just a one-off performance we saw the other night?
I don't think it was a one-off performance, but that's what it took to win that night. But I think he's capable of 40 and 50-point games in the playoffs. I'm sure he's done it before, come close or whatever, but I don't know that for a fact, but I'm sure he has. But he did what he had to do to win. I can't call it a one-off because how great he is. I'm sure he's capable of doing it again. But that's what it took to win that night, and he played. Big players make big shots on big stages, right?
Yeah. Well, you kind of led into it, and it's kind of telling the truth that I have to share. And John, there's someone who's a mutual friend of you and I who has a close relationship with Kevin Durant. He said Kevin Durant told him, dude, I score 60 a night. But here's the thing, though, Terry. Guess what he said that made it make so much sense? He said, that ain't number 15 points a quarter. I said, wow.
That's a good way to look at it.
And he said, the reason I don't, because I'm a basketball player. So I don't want to do that. So I kind of answer my own question. So I guess my question to you, John, is he telling the truth? Do you really think he could do that? And that is him really saying, look, hey, man, I could do 60, but I'm just trying to pass the ball around. I don't want people coming after me saying that I'm a ball hog. I want to get everybody involved. What do you think about that, John?
Well, I think he's the most prolific scorer in basketball. I mean, we talked about it a few weeks back. I believe when he goes up to shoot, it's what, 11 feet the ball's released at? Somewhere 11 feet?
Somewhere around there.
And look where he
somewhere where planes fly, huh?
You can't defend him. And if that shot's going in, now, here's what I believe. I believe Kevin Durant has spent days and days in the gym. I think it goes back to a decision that he made in high school, right, where he decided not to play AAU one summer, but to go in and hone his game.
I didn't know that. And I'll be the first to say that.
Yeah, and he likes to get at point A, and he wants to get to point B. And he has several options of what he can do with the basketball, handling the ball to get to that spot. Now, what are you going to – there's nothing you can do. I was watching in game 1, and P.J. Tucker was covering him, and Patrick was saying, there's no more room for tough guys in this game. This is about shooters, and he's shooting. And Tucker is just busting his butt. And at the end of the game, New Jersey had the ball on the sideline out of bounds. And this was game 2 when Milwaukee won. And they couldn't get the ball to Kevin Durant. Now, 3 are the previous 5 possessions, he played his ass off on defense, and Durant scored on him. But the point was that the 6th time he was back there again, trying again. You can't stop this guy.
Yeah.
You can't stop him. You're going to have to rush and double team him and do different stuff. One-on-one, you can't guard that guy. And if that shot's going in, the way he's capable of putting it in, I don't think 60 is a stretch.
Yeah, that's good. And I think one thing about everything you guys have said, including what you just said, John, the one dangerous thing about all of this is the one thing that Kevin Durant knows. The one little thing that makes him the player he is and probably one of the all-time greats is that he knows no one can block that shot.
That's right.
He knows there's no one who can physically get up and block the shot at the highest release. So he's always shooting by himself.
You know, when a guy learns how to be like him, he gets on the floor in the gym by himself and he goes to a spot. And I believe Kevin Durant's probably got 7 or 8, maybe more than that, spots on the floor where he has shot that ball, gotten to that point by dribbling, and stopped on a dime and got up and shot that jump shot thousands and thousands of times. And if you let him get to that spot, you're in deep trouble. So, you know, what do? You have to have a guy that guards him that is not going to get embarrassed by him putting 40 or 50 on you, because it may be just one time you can stop him that prevents him from putting a winner in.
Yeah, and that's the attitude you got to take, you know. So with that being said, I'm going to throw an audible at you guys right now, staying with this Kevin Durant thing. What do you guys think about Giannis, Terry, and his comment game, him saying that Kevin Durant is the best player in the world? A lot of guys, former NBA players, NFL players, his athletes took umbrage with that, saying, dude, even if you believe it, you don't say it, and you got to turn on and check that guy. Terry, what do you think about that?
I think you said it right there. I mean, I think Giannis has been on record a lot of times of being a little too nice, I would say. I mean, like when LeBron didn't win MVP, he's like, I think LeBron definitely is probably the best player. Like, you don't – I mean, as a competitor, I mean, I guess for myself, I wouldn't go on record of saying anybody that I'm competing against is the best player. I might say it off the court. But, like, if we're competing, actively competing, I mean, I'm down 3-2 now, and I got to win this winner go home for us. I'm not going to say that player is the best player. You know, I'm not doing that. That's just my competitive spirit. But, sure, I mean, players respect each other's game. I think Giannis is not like, oh, my legacy or my career is better than KD's. I know that for sure. But as a player, you got to believe that you're the best player on the court, which, like you said, separates KD from a lot of guys, separates LeBron from a lot of guys. Separates Booker because he believes he's the best player in the NBA, if you ask him. I mean, so it's just that killer instinct that Giannis is still developing. I tend to forget, man, Giannis is such a raw product, man. I mean, he has so much untapped potential that we may not see the final product of Giannis until like maybe years from now. He's just so young. It's like he's still learning how to bring that jump shot into his game. I'm like, usually you say that about an 18, like a high school kid, but Giannis is just still looking for ways to develop his game. And I think that's really cool, you know, to see somebody like that that's committed to that process. But there's still some things mentally that you got to overcome, and that killer instinct is one of those things.
Yeah, I think you make an excellent point, Terry. And as I go to our guys in the top right corner, my top right, I'll add another piece to that question. One, the idea, was that appropriate for Giannis to say? And I'll add this, not necessarily give him cover, but you guys can flesh it out. Is Giannis, one, not culturally competent as to the ways of the NBA and the expectation? Or you can say, hey, competition is competition. And two, should Giannis have been checking Kevin Durant? Was Giannis better equipped to check him? Or can you make it? And his comment was when he was asked at one point at some time, hey, why didn't you check Durant? He said, my coach didn't tell me to. So what do you guys think about that? I'll start with you, Patrick.
Giannis guard. The only difference between the two of them is Kevin Durant has hips and handles. He can turn his hip and move laterally. He's the best lateral 7-footer that the league has seen. There hasn't been a 7-foot guy that could play on the perimeter, put the ball on the deck, and create his own jump shot. It's never happened before. Maybe Dirk, but Dirk he ain't doing what Kevin Durant doing. He taking 1 or 2 dribbles just to get the ball up, just to get a little bit of separation. So you've never really seen it before. Giannis is the second most mobile big man in the league right now. He gets these crazy acrobatic finishes at the rim, but he doesn't have the hips to guard Kevin Durant. You saw that when he abused him a couple games ago with that double crossover with the shot. he's 7. I think Giannis is like 7'1" or something like that, or I can't remember how tall he is, but he's got the reach and length to block Kevin Durant's shot. He may be the only guy, but he ain't gonna be able to do it often because he doesn't have the hips to laterally move defensively with Kevin Durant. All Kevin Durant got to do is hit him with a little 1-2. As soon as Giannis break for separation, it's over. So,
they got Giannis at 6'11".
Nobody's going to be able to guard him. It's like my dad said, you got to find somebody who can make him uncomfortable. If you're going into my personal experience, like if you're going into a 7-game series with Brooklyn Nets, you better hope he has an off shooter night once or twice. Because that's about all you really got. I'm serious. I mean, that's about all you really have.
Yeah. John, when you hear that, my question just to follow up what Patrick is saying, despite him not having the physical capability, is it fair for us to have an expectation that, past MVP Giannis should say, I don't care, my heart is going to make me get out here and try to guard you no matter what? What do you think about that?
Well, you might not want Giannis guarding him on a consistent basis because you don't know what that's going to do to him. See, Kevin Durant shoots, he scores. He may turn around and say something to the whole team he's playing against on their bench. He may tell the people that have paid $15,000 to sit on the court, hey, rich boy, shut your mouth. No telling what he's telling Tucker. He tells Tucker enough where Tucker gets mad at him and gets in his face.
Yeah, security got to come on the floor.
So now, if Giannis is doing that, you may just destroy his ability to play the rest of the game. He's not going to stop him. Like Patrick says, you guys got to remember, football and basketball especially, or a D-back, how fast can you turn your hips? This determines how you can guard and how you can move, how fast you can turn those hips. Okay? And Giannis can't go with him out there. Plus, he's going to try to block a shot. He'd get him in foul trouble. Now, I have no problem with him saying he's the greatest player. I have no problem. There's no secrets here. What he was saying was he was tipping his cap to another professional that took over a game and won a game.
But does that make him
not the right time?
Yes. Say again.
Not the right time to tip your cap.
Look, I don't need y'all two fighting at the house. Y'all got
just like him saying that. Just like when my dad says that there's no secrets here. We know Kevin Durant is better than Giannis. He's been unhealthy for 2 years straight, and he's finally starting to come back and get a stretch of games where he's playing good. We know for a fact, we've known for 10 years that Kevin Durant is one of the best players in the world. If LeBron is aging out, we already knew if he was going to be healthy at the time that LeBron aged out, he was going to be the number one guy. He's a 7-foot shooting assassin. It doesn't even exist.
Easy money sniper.
He's the only person like that in the entire world.
And because of his size,
all these other 6'5" and 6'4" guys, they're everywhere. But this Slim Reaper, it's not. There's no other in the world.
But to your point about him being a Slim Reaper, the NBA has changed that his physical size, meaning that his weight, doesn't become a problem because the bad boys would have broke him off.
Right.
He would have got broke off so many times.
Yeah, absolutely.
From half court because they would have broke him off. But we see the Steph Currys and these guys who are not physically big in comparison to other players having free reign. I want to stay with the NBA for a second. We're going to talk about Chris Paul, but before we do that, we want to thank our great sponsors. I want to thank Horatio Williams that we know so well and the Horatio Williams Foundation. Actually, they got a couple things coming up on June 22nd. I'll be down there in Plymouth at the Plymouth Fox golf outing that's going to be taking place. And then on the 24th and 25th in my home, Detroit, you guys home too, we'll be over at Detroit Edison High School for high school basketball tournament, which is sponsored by Adidas. Also want to shout out to Gilead Sciences and all the support they're giving us. Dick's Sporting Goods as well. We're going to take a quick break. As before I acknowledge that, we'll acknowledge the Streets of Talking Podcast Network, my guy Don Houston and Clarence Board. We're going to take a quick break to talk about Team Michigan, that is, and their basketball tournament coming up in Traverse.
Breaking news. Team Michigan Basketball is presenting a series of basketball tournaments at Grand Traverse Resort and Spa. Get your teams registered today. The first tournament in the series is coming this Halloween weekend. Visit basketball.com or teammichiganbasketball.com for more information.
That's right, folks. Got some great things happening, but let's get back to this basketball we're talking about here. So, you know me, I put my conspiracy theory hat on at times. Chris Paul has been announced as going into the NBA protocol for COVID. I like how the NBA has branded COVID to say, yeah, somebody probably tested positive, but we're going to call them going into the protocol. So my question to this illustrious panel, did Chris Paul just contract COVID-19 right after the conference semifinals? Or it could have been possible that he may have had it, and now they're just releasing that information with the hope there's not a reporter on the front row asking the question about when did he last test negative and putting a storyline together. Terry, I'll start with you. What do you think about that?
Well, for a moment during the NBA playoffs, I was really getting optimistic that we wouldn't have to run into this problem because I would see Shams tweets saying like, oh, 0 players out of like 256 people tested positive. I'm like, okay, cool. Like we're gonna have, you kept seeing that. I'm like, okay, we're gonna have the best players of each team on the court, when healthy, and I was really excited about that. But to see a guy like Chris Paul kind of, get out, when this is the moment where, he could kind of earn his first ring. I mean, I was really excited about that. I'm not really positive how long he had to sit out, but I mean, if he is COVID positive right now, it almost worries me like how is that going to take a toll on his body? Not even just playing, but like off the court wise. I mean, COVID is a serious deal. And I mean, we've seen guys like Seth Curry who came back, right after they got off that COVID pause, when he did test positive, that just he wasn't the same. Jimmy Butler as well, talking about all the weight that they lost and unhealthy weight loss. I mean, where they're like skinny, frail, like not themselves. So I mean, I hope that if he did test positive with that, let's hope it's just like contact tracing or something like that. He get back on the court, So their best hope is that the Clippers go 7 with the Jazz and try to get as much time as possible to get him in there, maybe game 2 or 3. So, but I mean, it sucks to see that. I don't really know about the conspiracy thing. I just hope that they were being, I hope integrity was involved with this, where they were, being 100% transparent with the testing and was able to determine that Chris Paul should go now and hope it's not such a thing where he should have went earlier. So,
wow, well said, Terry. So I go up to my guys in my top right corner. So here's the thing. We saw already when LeBron was hanging out with Michael B. Jordan and Drake that there was a COVID protocol violation, and NBA said, we're not going to do anything. So I guess my question to the Rutherford household is, how much of an impact does Chris Paul playing have on Vegas? And the comment was also made, which is obviously not public information, that if he's vaccinated, that will determine how long he will be out. So we kind of saw LeBron skirt the question, LeBron being such a public figure when it comes to so many issues, and he did not come out and say, well, I am vaccinated. He skirted that. So in the event that Chris Paul is not vaccinated and that he also has tested positive for COVID, my question to you guys, and I'll start with you, Patrick, is, what kind of impact is this going to have on the NBA, conference finals and the finals? And is it something that the NBA may look the other way for? And I guess that's more of a question for you, John, and your folks out in Vegas hanging out with Orlando. Will the NBA look away because they stand to make so much off of, Chris Paul and the Phoenix Suns being in the finals?
I think that I think that LeBron probably didn't test positive, so they just let it go because he didn't get anything. And then
but hold on, they couldn't have found that out within one day if he had
that's true.
They saw him at the venue. So the question is, where they go push that? You know, what?
I don't know. Like, I don't even understand how Chris Paul is positive, but it is.
Well, the term they've been using, and that's me adding, they said the protocol. But I think it's fair to say, to Terry's point, it could be contract tracing. We don't know. But what other protocol violation? What would require him to go through the COVID protocol?
Well, then that would take it to another. That would take it to another level. If he didn't test positive, what they thought, I was under.
He tested positive.
Yeah, I thought he tested.
Okay, let's call it that. He did test positive.
Yeah,
so
and he's been vaccinated twice with the Pfizer. And
wow.
And they, this is a situation where that came out yesterday, right? Okay, so he'll get tested today, and every day, twice a day, he's going to get tested by the NBA now. And it very well could be that his next test will be negative. Mm-hmm. He has to do, I believe, 3, maybe 4 days consecutively testing negative for him to be back in. So, it has happened before where people have got the vaccination, tested positive, and 24 hours later test negative.
There we go. There we go.
And in LeBron's case, the official record, that the NBA used was everybody at the party that LeBron was at with Drake and Jordan was tested negative and had been vaccinated. That was protocol before going in this party. That's what the NBA used. So
I find it interesting that LeBron, switching from Chris Paul to LeBron was not unequivocally clear that he had been vaccinated, or was it a matter that he didn't even want to go there? Because it seemed like he was almost elusive to the question when he said, "Oh, we're not talking about that," as opposed to just kind of.
LeBron was vaccinated at the time of that party, fully vaccinated.
Interesting. So I guess LeBron's response was more so, "Look, man, I don't got time for this. I'm solid. Keep it moving. It's a non-issue." So let's kind of stay with that. We're talking about the NBA playoffs, and I guess one story we could have led with that probably was just as breaking, if you would, was last night game between the semi-conference finals of the Eastern Conference between the Atlanta Hawks and the Philadelphia 76ers. I sat there with Deshaun Tate of Tate's Take. We sat there at B-Dubs and watched the game, and we saw a 26-point lead, and we thought it was a wrap. Deshaun was waiting to get a phone call to do an Atlanta Hawks post-game press conference or do some things, which is what he does. And we look up, and it's like 3-point, 4-point game, and next thing you know, the Atlanta Hawks are taking the lead. And now, and I just knew it, man, Joel Embiid in particular. I knew that he wasn't going to score another point. I knew that he was so caught up on the fact that, man, we let these guys come back in. And it was almost like the entire fourth quarter was him just beating himself. And, oh, my God, they are ready to run Ben Simmons out of town, and they might put Doc Rivers on the same rocker. So, Terry, I'll start with you. What did you think about last night's game that was considered a monumental, they just kind of blew it, with that situation. And what do you think the series is going to end up being like?
I think I still have Philly in 7, but right now I think some guys got to step up. My guy I've been kind of talking so highly about, Tobias Harris. I think he had 4 points. Come on, like you can't score.
Only 2 players scored for Philly in the second half.
And one of them was Seth Curry, who ended up dropping 36 and 7 rebounds. So you got guys stepping in there. I do think a rotation tweak does need to happen a little bit. I think that Tyrese Maxey needs to give a little bit more tick a little bit, I would say. because I think he played like a minute. I think I saw ESPN the minute tracker, so I would see him maybe getting 10 to 12 minutes just to add another scoring threat. I think teams are starting to realize that like Ben Simmons is not really gonna. It's not much of a scoring threat at all. I mean, not from the three. I wouldn't say much from the inside either. So I mean, I would like to see guys that can provide more for, especially from the outside. I would say the same for the Bucks too with Teague, Jeff Teague, maybe just to add something. A guy with playoff experience with Jeff Teague to see what he can do. So I mean, another thing, Philly, I pride them so much on defense. They gave up 40 points in the fourth quarter. I mean, you cannot expect to win. I don't care if you're up 40. You can't give up that many points in crunch time. I mean, even if you're still up 30 and it's the fourth quarter, you still want to dial in, finish strong as a team. I mean, run some sets, kind of get into your thing. They were just so out of whack. No one had control of the ball game. Ben Simmons, not your typical guard. He does play the point guard position, but I think Philly's really missing that guy that can control the pace. And I think that Maxey, even though his experience is really low, he's a rookie. And that's something that maybe Doc is not really willing to risk right now. But I do think that he brings that point guard approach to like, hey, let's slow it down a little bit. Let's run some sets. We're up 10. We're up how much they were, where it kind of got a little bit slowed down. But
Doc's a point guard. He can't help himself.
Yeah, I mean, and then Trae Young just took over, and then the Hawks' momentum just kind of pushed over to where it's like, the whole time I'm watching the game, I'm like, where's the guard? Where's the point guard that's gonna be like, hey, let's slow this thing down. You don't need a timeout to slow things down. Let's run a set, let's get a quick bucket to kind of change the shifts of momentum as the game proceeds. But I think that's what they're missing. I hope maybe Maxey gets a chance to at least show. I mean, they're down 3-2. Give it a shot maybe in the second or third quarter just to see what he adds off the bench. Because playing 1 minute, I mean, I think he can definitely produce a lot more than that.
Yeah. I don't know if this is an indictment on Doc Rivers or we not giving Nate McMillan his props. And I think one thing that's overlooked, you had 2 African-American coaches, which you still will have in many setups, just kind of going at it. And, Doc Rivers having the hardware with that 2008 championship with the Celtics, but Nate McMillan, it makes Atlanta look like they made the right choice in bringing him in. Patrick, what do you think about that whole idea? Do you think the series is over and that Atlanta's going to carry the momentum and win at home, or is the Philadelphia 76ers going to show you something that some don't expect? But, Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons is going to have a Kevin Durant type game in this Game 7 and close the series out and go to the Eastern Conference Finals.
I don't think that either one of them have a Kevin Durant type game. Ben Simmons took 4 shots. So
they're like, shoot it. When have you heard someone say shoot it instead of saying don't shoot?
He doesn't want to shoot a jumper. He'll never have a night like that in that league. But I don't think the series is over either. I just think that if the others play better and if Joel Embiid is healthy enough to put a performance together, I think they can win a game in 2 games. But the way it's looking, maybe Joel Embiid he's not up to it. Maybe it's like the health and everybody's going down. I think there's 8 All-Stars out, or is there 9?
Right.
So
Philly wasn't long in the bubble. I mean, a lot of these have been teams that have, had an extended season.
Right.
And whatnot, but Joel Embiid stay on the IR.
Injury prone. He spends his time off, so if he can be healthy enough and the others step up to play, then I can see them coming out of the series. But Atlanta obviously has been best at taking advantage of the moments in this series.
Well, let me ask you this. You got $100 in your pocket, the last 100, and you got to bet on 1 or 2 teams. Who you betting on?
I bet on the Hawks.
You bet on the Hawks. Okay, the Hawks at home. Okay, we'll keep an eye on that. And
if you think about it, look at their perimeter. It's like a smaller baby version, a younger version of a smaller Golden State. If Bogdanovich has a great shooting night and Trae Young have a great shooting night, that's like Stephen Clay coming at you. You got threes flying at all ends of the court, and then you got these young, super athletic boys down low with Capella and what's 20's last name? Collins.
Yeah.
You got Collins.
Joel Embiid almost took Collins out last night. He ran into him and fell on him with all that weight. My goodness.
Yeah. So you know, they got some real perimeter scoring. Even with Gallinari, he can get hot and add you some points into the you know, on the board. So Atlanta, they're just looking like the better put together team right now all around. But on paper, the 76ers obviously look better.
Yeah. Now, John, the qualifier I'm going to give is that I'm a huge Doc Rivers fan. If it came down to head coaches in the NBA, he'd probably be my number one guy. Came down to somebody you want to hang out with, talk to. I'm a huge Doc Rivers fan. However, can an argument be made that Doc has probably missed his time now? Because you look at him being in Los Angeles with the Clippers and they not being able to get there. And they just said there was some stats saying like the last 5 biggest losses in the finals or the semi-conference finals, Doc Rivers was coaching. So this thing, so I guess my direct question to you, John, is if Philadelphia 76ers loses, is Doc Rivers really going to be on his way out of the league, out of Philly, and potentially transition out of the league?
Well, you know, that's the first thing I looked at this morning, and I believe that this would be. I know that previously 7 times he's had a 3-1 lead or a 3-2 lead in a series as a head coach in the NBA and lost that series. And they documented that this morning. And that was the question in the article. And you know, I mean, hey, you are what your record is. I mean, there's no
how nice you are, no how cool you are your record.
I mean, like they said in the article, you know, there's nobody better on other issues than basketball than Doc Rivers. He's a great interview. The reporters like him. Everybody likes him in the media because he gives them what they want. He gives them something to exchange or write about. And I think that this team, if you look at them when they've given up these leads, they don't play as good a defense, but look at their spacing. They are just out of whack on offense.
Yeah.
Something fierce. And whoever told Tobias Harris that, you know, when the game doesn't count, he likes to go to the paint and shoot that little jumper. And he has got that shot down. He's another guy that sits in the gym and goes from point A to point B and shoots, and he's good there. But whoever thought that he could get a bucket in the fourth quarter when your team, they're on your ass, they've misjudged who he is, okay? And they don't have that guy. And then I have a problem with the big man at times. You know, I always cringe and I tell Patrick when he's hitting the floor, he hits the damn floor too much. Quit flopping. Goddamn, go in there and dunk on somebody. and stop all the mystery, okay? Don't be looking for, you know, a lot of guys in the NBA, they look for the foul. They try to create a foul instead of concentrating on putting the ball in the basket. So, you know, I think you need to play better defense. But, hey, this, you know, Doc has got a serious problem. And I'm like you, Lindsay. I think the world of that guy. I've listened to him and I've talked to people that know him, and I have a lot of respect for him as a human being. He's a hell of a man. But hey, you are what your record is. And that this is big boy league. This isn't coaching your son at the Y on Saturday.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have to keep an eye on that, man. That's going to be a question that remains to be answered. You know, one can make the argument this is his first year with him. He was transitioning in, but I think the expectations for this team have been so high. And now you're getting to that point where it's like they're looking a little exposed. And to Patrick's point, you know, Atlanta in 7, I'm like, why not? You know, when you talk about that team. You know, staying with playoff basketball and kind of keeping that Doc Rivers connection. Let's head up back. We talk about playoff P. He like, what about me? Y'all not going to talk about me on the show? I showed up, you know. playoff P, and the Utah Jazz. Terry, are we seeing pretty much the Clippers being able to make their way finally to the Western Conference Finals?
I think we finally saw the hype about the role players that the Clippers added to the team really show itself. I mean, Reggie Jackson played extremely well. I mean, he had moments where he took over a little bit, and Paul George kind of stepped aside and was like, "Okay, it's your turn right now." Paul George dropped 37, in this game. Marcus Morris, I would say he's probably one of the streakiest shooters in the league right now. But when he gets that thing going, I mean, in that left corner, it's almost like he finds his way in that left corner. That left corner wing area is automatic for him. So I mean, I do got to give some credit to Ty Lue, and Ty Lue has been a coach where he is a victim of LeBron, and I would say a victim of LeBron is like he doesn't get a lot of credit because he has LeBron on your team. Like they're like, oh, you have LeBron. I mean, what more can you? I mean, do you really have to work? Like some people, I as a joke. I mean, it's like, do you even have to go to work every day if LeBron is your, is a player you're coaching? So, I mean, Ty Lue made amazing adjustments. I mean, as little as Donovan Mitchell having the ball and it's like 10 on the shot clock. The Jazz, they let the ball move around. They got the motion offense. Quinn Snyder is a big on motion offense. Everybody touches the rock for the most part, unless it's a strictly ISO for Donovan Mitchell. Once it gets to 10, they kick it to Donovan Mitchell. It seems like every time, and it's like an ISO. They immediately double team the ISO, which then causes guys like O'Neal and Bogdanovich, who don't really, and Ingles, who don't really create shots well on their own. I mean, it's a lot of it is Donovan Mitchell penetration, lobs up to Gobert or kicks it out to one of the shooters. Right now, the Clippers are forcing the others of the Jazz to make plays and allow them to beat them. And it's so little as double teaming, not letting Donovan get to his spots. And I mean, it's worked. I mean, you may think that it's simple, double team their best player, but it's just the tendencies. When to double team, they're moving as like a well-oiled machine on defense, and I think it's kind of motivated them on offense as well. I mean, if you're stopping your opponent every possession, it seems like, I mean, it makes you want to go score. It gives you that confidence. Like, well, if we miss here, y'all got to come back and try and score on us. So what? You know what I mean? And so Reggie Jackson, his confidence has been so high. You got to have players around you that just have that confidence. You just lost your best player. You just lost a top 5 player to what we think is a torn ACL or like and so he's going to be out for a minute. And Paul George has to step up and play like that again to hopefully clinch it at home, which is the best scenario for them. It seems like they played the best at home. They lose home court. They don't gain home court advantage. They lose 2 straight. They go home, and it's like they can't lose. So, I mean, those guys have to keep their confidence high. Ty Lue's offense is really prone to, like, letting guys, whoever have it that night, they usually get the freedom to kind of do what they want to do and play within his system. So I do like that about him, but he needs to get some credit as well.
Wow. A lot said in a great overview, with Kawhi being out, Patrick, you wonder if the game that they just had, seeing Reggie Jackson step up, playoff P, be who he named himself to be, playoff P, and I don't mean to be blasphemous, and I respect your opinion, but is this a better Clippers team right now without Kawhi based on how they played?
No.
No bet.
No way. If LeBron is slowing down and Kevin Durant's the best player in the world, Kawhi has got to be argument for number 2. He got to be up there. He got to be up there with them boys because he takes over games the way he plays. Like that game 4 was ridiculous. You know what I mean? That game 4 was crazy. And my favorite thing about Kawhi Leonard is how he may not necessarily be flashy, but he may not scream and yell, and when he dunk on you, get all in your face just for the camera and all that. But he's like that vintage, old school game, bro, where every bucket he scored, it's a loud bucket. Like, like I heard Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp say, Chris Paul had 37. It didn't even look like it. Like I didn't even notice. I mean, he got hot in that fourth quarter, hitting the mid ranges, but it didn't look like 37 to me. Kawhi Leonard can have 25, and them the loudest points in the gym. Like he'll raise up and dunk on you. He the best player on that team by far. They need him if they want to get past Phoenix.
Yeah, you're right. Going into that, John, what do you think about this Clippers team? Is it a far-going conclusion that they're going to close out Utah? And if that's the case, what do you see about that matchup between the Clippers and the Phoenix Suns?
Well, it's like I'll stick to what we talked about 2 weeks ago. Who's healthy?
That's right.
And how they call in the game. I think that the Clippers can finish off Utah. I think so. But is Chris Paul going to play? Is he going to be ready? Is he going to be healthy? Because
can he even be in the gym? Can he even be there?
Well, I really liked them the way they were playing. I like Phoenix was playing well. They got some young boys that are coming on.
Yeah.
I like the boy from Villanova, Bridges, and
you broke my nose, man.
Well, I like that team, but I don't think they'll be the same team without Chris Paul.
Yeah,
I don't think they will.
No, he's the lubrication to the engine.
He's the oil. He's the guy that's been there for a long time that can.
And it's not like if he's in COVID protocol that he can even coach from the bench or be there. He can't even be there.
Right.
He can't even be around.
They gonna need that. His last series is probably the best series of his career. He averaged 25 points, 10 assists, 5 rebounds for the playoff series against in this sweep. So like if they're not good enough overall to say we don't need Chris Paul today. Like that would break the house personally.
Yeah.
Clippers may be able to do that because they have more veterans, they have more experience. A guy can say, you know what, I'm gonna step up tonight, and they could get lucky. But it would be so hard for Phoenix to do it because, he's the oil to the engine. He gets them going. He's the juice. He may not be the Devin Booker and like that, but he's the juice right now.
Well, here's a good point. You said good enough to do that, but guess what? If he's out, they're gonna have to believe that.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to say he brought us this far, and now we're ready. Going into that mindset of believing it going in. But that's the only way they'll be able to do it. And who knows?
But it goes both ways. Like once you get to the last 4 teams in the NBA, once you get to them deep in the playoffs, you start to realize, like, okay, well, it's dogs on both sides. Okay, so now
if they're healthy, to John's point,
Chris Paul doesn't play, it affects. Now you lose 25 points, or you lose to in between 20 and 30 points, 10 assists and some rebounds. You losing that right then and there. Who's gonna step up? You got Payne that can come off the bench and run the point, but he's no Chris Paul. He's not even a poor man's Chris Paul. He could come in and hit a couple shots and do his thing, but that's not it. So then take it to the other side of the fence. You got them dogs salivating over there like, hey, bro, they ain't got Chris Paul. Let's go at him tonight. Hey, we about to put 30 on Payne head. Yo, we gonna attack all over the place. Like it's so many factors to everything.
But maybe Booker score a career high 65 points. Maybe
that's
Booker
true.
score.
That's true. And you got young Mamba out there. I'm telling you, that's Devin Booker right there. He is a pure scorer. When he shoots the ball and he goes at the rim, it's like poetry in motion. But he's never been in this situation to ever have to prove it. So that's tough. That's tough.
Right. Remains to be seen. What we'll do at a later time, we'll talk more about these injuries. What I want to do at the remaining time, I want to go back and thank our sponsors again. And when we come back from this break, baseball is still trending. We'll talk about what's happening with Spider Tack and what the status is. It's an ongoing conversation. But again, we want to thank the Horatio Williams Foundation. Shout out to my guy H. On next week, Tuesday, the 22nd, we'll be at Fox Hills, that is, down in Plymouth for the golf outing. Shout out to Dick Sporting Good. It's been so supportive for what we're doing as well. Gilead Sciences. And we want to have a quick message from Team Michigan and talking about the basketball.
You know who it is, baby. And I'm here to tell you about the new youth basketball tournament in Michigan. Team Michigan Basketball has done the work. It's prime time. They are PTPers, baby. Get ready for a scary good basketball tournament Halloween weekend at the venue of all venues, Baby Grand Traverse Resort. I'm talking about a diaper dandy, baby. I mean awesome with a capital A. A basketball tournament that is designed with the entire family in mind. Escape to a 900-acre northern Michigan resort just outside of Traverse City. Enjoy 54 holes of championship golf, spa, indoor-outdoor tennis, indoor water playground, fitness center, private beach club, 4 restaurants, shopping, and now basketball. I can't wait, baby! It's the stay to play that will make your day! Halloween Weekend 2021. Check it out at www.boosketball.com. Register your team soon. This one is going to fill up quickly. A basketball tournament at a resort. That's a slam, bam, jam, baby!
That's right, folks. The state of play that'll make your day. And as we come back with the remaining time we have here on the SPS Edge podcast, again, thank you to our sponsors and everything that's going on. Thank you to our illustrious crew. Guys, what's going on, Terry? We still talking Spider Tack. You know, a couple weeks ago, I didn't even know what that was. Now it's constant conversations leading the way. What's going on with Spider Tack, Terry?
No, I'm really proud that the MLB made this decision during the season. I think that was kind of underlooked a little bit. The fact that it was made so quick. I mean, they made that decision based on, how everyone has been using it, as these players keep saying that are using it. Well, everyone's doing it. Well, the MLB felt like they need to put this to a stop now, having that 10-game suspension. 10 games is a lot for a starting pitcher. I mean, I think like a pitcher would pitch, say they pitch today, they won't pitch again till about 5 games, another 5 games down the road. So, I mean, that's a long time.
That could have serious playoff implications.
Right. And so I think they really made that effort into really putting some discipline on this. One thing that I also like that they added was with the that if they catch a catcher having some on him, and because, the catcher and pitchers, they make that exchange. If they catch that, the catcher is also ejected. Or I might be a little confused a little bit, but I think I guess the pitcher's ejected and he's suspended. But the whole implement of how if the catcher gets caught with that, the catcher is also ejected, which I think is really cool because they're making it known that there isn't going to be any loophole in this rule and that they're really going to start eliminating this whole substance use. So I thought that was big props to the MLB.
Yeah. Shout out to MLB on that tip, trying to stay relevant. Patrick, do you think that they're fighting an image issue with that decision that they had to make? To Terry's point, they had to make it right now because you hear about the Astros, you hear about all this stuff that's going on with stealing, that they have to kind of make sure they keep the integrity of the sport?
No, I don't. Their sport has been going for so long. And I'm not your everyday baseball watcher, but like my dad is, he's the best for this topic. But I watched years ago where that New York Yankees guy got caught with the
that pine tar.
Do you remember it was on the he had it in 3 different places. And
on his neck and all that.
The game was going, you couldn't even see it, but when they broke it down and had all those camera views, he had it all over the place. And you talk to your elders and all people that are older than you, and you say, what's going on with that? And everybody 100% says they've been doing it for 100 years. So baseball has these little things where it's just a part of the game, and you have slow news days and some of the sports you need to talk about, and you pick baseball for that and all that, but I don't think the real baseball fan knows is what's going on in the game. So, no, I don't think it's hurting him too bad.
John, when you hear that, you hear MLB moving quick to make this decision. Are you in line with what Patrick is saying, that it doesn't matter, they're still going to have these things going on because it's been in the game for so long? Or is this idea to put out
unlike my two pals here on the telecast, Terry.
If he calls you pals, that ain't good.
I get to talk to people who are in the game. Okay, and here's what happened. The average Major League Baseball batting average is the lowest it's been since 1937.
Wow.
Okay, so these guys aren't hitting. That's why they're doing this. This is why they're doing this. So I had a friend of mine that works for a major league team in player development. And he said, what do you think? I said, I think you ought to take 3 inches off the top of the strike zone. I think you ought to lower the strike zone. I said, it's too much space to cover. But this is the reason. These guys are found this new stick-em, and it's increasing the spin on the ball like we talked about last week, and batting averages are way down.
And that's not good because we want to see home runs going out.
They want Terry and Patrick and all their buddies to watch it. And they won't watch it with them not hitting like this. So, hey, listen, there's a game being played right now as we're speaking. There's a camera in center field, and the home team is photographing and sending what pitch is going to be thrown to the dugout.
Yeah.
Trust me, that's happening somewhere in baseball tonight.
As we speak. As we speak.
And the pitcher saying, well, hell, you're stealing the signals. I got to be able to spin this thing more RPMs. So there's always going to be a tug of war in baseball. That's just the way it is.
I got it.
But hey, they need to do something. These pitchers are too damn good.
Yeah, that's it. Well, guys, you heard it here on the SPS Edge. We got everything from playoff basketball to Spider Tack and what's happening. I want to thank you guys for checking in. Again, thank you to our sponsors, the Rachel Williams Foundation, Gilead Sciences, Dick's Sporting Good, and also my guys, Don Houston and Clarence Barbour with the Streets of Talking Podcast Network. So with that, I want to thank you, Terry McCord Jr. I want to thank you, Patrick Rutherford, and also to Jon Rutherford. Appreciate you. And finally to our guy, Orlando, out in Vegas. If you don't come back, we know you hit it big, so we know what's going on. So with that, I want to thank you guys. We'll see you next week on the SPS Edge. Peace.